everyone. I'm Kareem, your host at the One Soccer Nation podcast. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Wells Thompson. Wells is a former MLS player, played for 7 years. You've also won the MLS Cup. And you're also the founder and CEO of Soccer Resilience, just to name a few of your accomplishments and things that you're doing. Wells, is there anything that I missed or that I don't know that I've to mention that you're doing?
Yeah, man, I'm trying to raise 3 wild young sons and stay married and keep my sanity. And live life, So that's probably the biggest thing I do.
Got it. Yeah. No, that's a lot right there. I know what that's like in regards to just perspective wise. But Wells, I really appreciate you taking the time for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. 100 episodes. That's incredible. Probably a lot of people don't realize how much work that was, but I know that was hard work, man. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you so much. So that's 100 #Pro Soccer Talk podcast with MLS players, USL Championship, USL One, Nice, and a few players from around the world. And we also do interviews with front office people on the soccer business side. So super exciting. Thank you so much, Wells. This one's about you, the big 100. I'm so honored to have you on. Can you just take us back in time and share how you got involved in the beautiful game?
Man, just kind of like every kid, I was 4 or 5 years old. I have an older brother. He played and I played. I actually played everything growing up. I played baseball, basketball. I even played ice hockey for a bunch of years, golf, tennis. I swam. Did I miss a sport in there? Lacrosse even. But soccer is what I felt like God had blessed me with and what I was most passionate about. So, just kind of kept playing and kept falling in love with it and kept getting better. And one thing led to another. And you find yourself playing the professionals one day.
Was that always the goal for you to go pro, or was it just something that you came along?
No, I don't think it was. I mean, I think it was obviously I loved sports. I was athletic. God had blessed me with a lot of abilities and talents, and I just loved to compete. I'm actually not a big fan. I don't watch sports as much. I watch UFC. That's the only sport I really watch. Sometimes I'll watch soccer just because I want my kids to get into it. So just thinking of growing up, wanting to be something is, I just love to play, man. So my story is a little bit different. I guess everybody's story is a little bit different, right? We all have our own unique journey and perspective, and there isn't just one way. But a big part of my story is I was a troubled kid, man. Drugs and alcohol almost ruined my life as a young kid. And no joke, I was going to end up dead or in jail if my parents didn't hire guys to kidnap me in the middle of the night. So I spent 2 years from 16 to 18 in a lockdown facility in upstate New York. So the goal wasn't always to go pro. My goal as a teenager was to be quite frank, was to get high and drunk. And I thought that was cool. And I was a gangster, which I wasn't really. But that's I was just kind of a mischievous, rebellious young kid, and that led me astray. And by the grace of God, I ended up making it somehow, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I look back and I see the hand of God in my life. I also see, my parents, all the incredible coaches that I've had, all the incredible mentors, all the incredible family friends that loved me and poured into me and lifted me up and encouraged me. Cause we all need that. So yeah, man, I didn't think I would play a day in college, let alone professionally. So it was absolutely a dream come true, and feels like it never happened. That's sometimes, it's been 7, 8 years since I retired now. So want to go back there sometimes.
Who's one person that sticks out to you in regards to, keeping you aligned and keeping you on a straight positive path?
My mom and dad. I mean, I had such a great family. I really don't know why I did the things that I did. I think it's just kind of a young kid trying to figure it out. But they gave everything for me. So I tell my story from my perspective, and I'll tell you briefly is, 16 years old. Interestingly enough, my mom said the straw that broke the camel's back when they were like, "Oh, we got to do something to save your life, Wells," was when I told her I wanted to quit playing soccer. So 16 years old, I'm not going to school. I'm really a drug addict, strung out, just trying to get drunk and high every day. I wasn't living at home. I was living with my one of my best friends in his grandma's 2-story condo. She never even knew I lived there. So I just turned 16. My parents tricked me to come home. They said, Wells, they got a hold of me somehow and said, if you come home, we'll take you to get your license. So I was 16 and I was like, yes, freedom. I wasn't going to have a car, but I was going to have a license. That's a big deal. At least it was back in the day. But I didn't connect those dots. Shows you a little bit how off I was. But I came home in the middle of the night. My dad came in and he said, we love you, son, but you're going to go away for a little while. And I literally cussed at him. I really, honest to God, cussed at him and said, I'm trying to sleep, like I was just a punk. And next thing I know, 2 big guys came in, never seen them in my life. And they said, you need to get up. You're coming with us. And I said, do you know who I am? No, I'm kidding. I didn't say that. I love that joke. But I tried to fight them. I'm not a big kid now, and I wasn't then. They won. They handcuffed me behind my back, put my clothes on me. I'll never forget. They walked me down my front steps. It was January and it was cold outside, and they put me in the back of a tinted out black Tahoe. And then they drove me 12 hours up to the middle of the Catskill Mountains in New York. And so as hard as that was for me, man, like I can only imagine as a young parent myself, how hard that was for my parents. I actually just recently wrote about this on LinkedIn. And I sent it to my mom. My mom called me and was like, it brings me to my knees just thinking about doing that to you. You know what I mean? Like it was the kind of the last step, in order to save my life. And it was the greatest thing to ever happen to me, man. Literally one of them anyway. I hated every day that I was there. But it saved my life, literally saved my life.
Yeah, what is such a unique story. I've always heard the straight path where, players are just working towards that goal. But I guess for the 100th one, this is where we come with the bang. So, Wells, thank you so much for sharing that. Wells, your soccer career has been marked by numerous achievements, including winning the MLS Cup in 2010 and being named Colorado Rapids Humanitarian of the Year in 2011. How have these experiences shaped your perspective on the game and beyond life?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think when you bring up those things, I immediately go to like coulda, shoulda, woulda, and I think this is interesting. This kind of gets into my work with soccer resilience, but how we're just wired to go negative. I just previously on this podcast talked about how I spent 2 years in a lockdown facility and how I never thought I'd go pro. But when you say what you just said, my brain goes, but it could have been so much better. And I start to think about all the bad things in my career. And so I'm doing a lot of work in my own life and for myself because there's really something wrong with me if I can't look back on my career and be proud of it. And so I'm trying to do that, I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I'm thankful for what I've accomplished, I never thought I'd play a day pro, but that's a little bit what happens in life, right? You accomplish one goal and then you just set the bar even higher. And so, I think if I look back, I wish I would have just enjoyed the journey a little bit more, and realize that happiness is in the journey. It's not on the other side of some achievement or goal. But they've shaped me tremendously. I mean, soccer is my life. It's been my entire life. It is who I am. And this actually answers a little bit of your previous question, but in 98, 97, we won the Charleston shootout. Did you know that? I know it was a huge deal. I know no one knows that. It's like, who cares, right? And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? It's a great deal. But I scored 13 out of our team's 15 goals in the tournament. And so my dad, this was the turning point. My dad realized that I was really good and I had a gift. And so my dad, the next week when we got back to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I grew up, that Monday, my dad actually took me out of school and he took me out to lunch. And it gives me chills just talking about it. But my dad sat me down and we had lunch and he said, Wells, you have a gift. And you can use that gift for yourself, or you can use that gift for God and other people. And so that's a story that I reflect on a lot because my parents, they're such a massive influence in my life, but those are the things that the seeds they were like planting in me. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't just about you, Wells. It's bigger than you. And so when you talk about Humanitarian of the Year award, I knew that like being a pro athlete, that was my platform to glorify God and give back and help other people. And As you can probably tell, my faith's really important to me. I love Jesus, and Jesus talks about serving and giving back, and to whom much is given, much is expected. And I'm a rich white dude in America, man. I know that. Like I've been so blessed, and I just want to use what God's given me to give back and help other people, because I think that's where true joy comes from. Like when I think about my career and the accomplishments, MLS Cup, US Open Cup, Super League title, like I think about the relationships and the people. I really don't think like I go back to this all the time, but people on their deathbed, they're not like, give me my MLS Cup ring. I want to rub it again like Gollum. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I want to talk to this guy and that guy. And so that's hard in the moment to realize in our day-to-day lives, but it's so true. We come into this world with nothing, we'll leave with nothing. And it's really the relationships that are key and that make life worthwhile.
Yeah, and you actually shocked me the first time we spoke on the phone, where it was like you mentioned a few of these things that that you weren't as happy with your career as you should have been, or there's certain things like that. And I was so shocked. The reason why I was so shocked was because I was like, "Wow, man! Like you've achieved so much," and it was just really surprising to me. And to to hear that, it was kind of like grounding for me, because I've heard stories from players, close friends that used to play for Toronto FC Academy, and they wanted to go pro, and they have so much resentment, and they still want to go pro, and they're getting older, and they still haven't achieved it. And it's like they're facing that, but I'm like, when I compare it to you, I'm like, you've achieved so much, and you still kind of have those same type of feelings. And I was like, wow. So, what would you say has been?
Can I say something on that real quick? Because not only I impacted you, but you impacted me, because I didn't get that from you. I didn't get any sort of like regret or discouragement. And that changed my life, dude. I'm dead serious, because honestly, if I ran into a guy and he accomplished what I accomplished and he felt bad about his career, I'd be like, what a jackass, like, come on, dude. Like you did this, man. Like you did it. And so be grateful for it. And so you changed me, man. And you helped my perspective. And I'm trying to shift that, because I really do. I truly want to be grateful. And I think that's come with a lot of intentional practice for me. The stories I tell myself, the conversations I have with people, it can be easy for me to go, oh man, I wish I could have done this, or I really struggle. And the reality of it is, and this is where you have to find the balance, Kareem, I really have struggled, man. I really have struggled in life after sport, for whatever reason, because it was hard, and so I'm working on seeing it in a different light, and you've helped me do that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be a part of that. And for you, it's been like light and day, which is why it leads into soccer resilience, where it's bigger than yourself, where you mentioned family a lot, and God coming through your family to you and reaching you, and you being on the light side instead of the dark, which is a blessing. With saying that, as the founder and CEO of Soccer Resilience, you've created a sports mindset agency with a mission to train the mind as the most. You need the mind to be strong, competitive in sports.
Yeah, we're really working on, which is why I interrupted you. I'm sorry I did that. But like, we're actually taking, and this has come from me, like taking mind out of our marketing and stuff. It's just so offensive, and it causes a reaction to people, and it actually sends a false message. Our mission at Soccer Resilience is to help you think better so that you perform better. And that's in every arena of life. And that's players, coaches, and parents and referees. I think most of us go, I really need to think better, but we don't walk around going, man, I really need to work on my mental fitness. And the thing about it is, which is why I'm so passionate about this, is because, man, I don't like it. It causes some uneasiness in me when I go train your brain. What the heck does that mean, man? Mm-hmm. But like, I need to think better. That's what, what I'm saying? And your mind and your body, we are one being. And so emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, when you affect one part of us, you affect all of us, right? Like when you were training, right, Kareem, were you doing suicides or the Cooper or whatever, you're training your brain. You just don't really know it, or you're not aware of it. And so really it's bringing that, like, man, we're one thing here. And trying to communicate, like, we want to help you think better, you know what I mean? And think better and think clearer. And oftentimes what we're trying to do is get your mind out of the way, right? It's like, don't go on the field and think more. Actually do the training and the thinking before, and then go out on game day and play like you've trained to do, so hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that sounds like being in a flow state. Um, can you share more about the journey that led you to establish soccer resilience and the impact you aim to make? Um, I have in the mental fitness, but I know it's more than mental, as you're sharing now, and well-being of the athletes.
Yeah. When I retired, I told God I never want anything to do with soccer again. Lesson learned is don't tell God never, because I'm back in it. But it's really, if you think of Wells Thompson in my life and what I've done, and again going back to my dad and mom, when I was in Colorado, I started a soccer camp. And that soccer camp was to help other people and to help kids and to give back and to teach lessons through soccer. Nelson Mandela stole my quote. I stand on that. He said, "Sport's the greatest opportunity to change the world," and I truly believe that. I stole his quote. And if you haven't read that whole quote, you should go read it, because he talks about how sport's greater than government, to break down walls. Kids want to listen to it. And so, when I retired, I had a lot of time to reflect on my career. And, as a pro athlete, you have acupuncturists, needlers, cuppers, masseurs, dietitians, physical therapists, you name it, but not someone who attributes for more than 50% of performance in life, right? The question we ask every single person is, what percentage of performance stems from the mind? No right or wrong answer. And I'd say 98% of people say 70% or higher. Right. So usually our follow-up question is, well, certainly if you believe 70%, you're doing something to train it. And most people aren't. Like, there's still MLS clubs today that don't have someone to help players with this aspect of it. So I think it was divine orchestration. I retired. I started to reflect on my career. It's the biggest regret of my career. Actually, I have a journal entry in my last year in the MLS and it was September, and we're about to come home for off season. We're going to make the playoffs in Chicago. And my journal entry was, I need to go see a sports psychologist. I'm so sick and tired of walking out on the field and playing scared to make a mistake and not playing free. But I never did, so I'm really trying to give back and help, because life's hard, man. And you look at the stats, we work with everybody, and hopefully I'm making sense here, but youth clubs, colleges, high schools, even pros. But our youth soccer is our target market, and 95% of the youth athletes don't even play in college. And 1% go pro. So really, what's the point of youth sports? And I believe the point of youth sports is to teach kids life lessons. And I don't think youth clubs are doing enough. I don't think U.S. soccer is doing enough. I don't think U.S. club soccer, whatever, is doing enough to leverage that opportunity that we have with kids.
So how many kids has your program helped this far to date?
That's a great question. I have no idea. It's been a lot. I mean, we've been in business for 3 years, just over 3 years. It's been thousands. It's been a lot. Hopefully it can be a lot.
Yeah, and then for sure. And how, you mentioned partnering with youth organizations and clubs. How do you pitch it to them? Because forming a partnership, they obviously don't see you as a competitor. So how do you form these relationships with other organizations?
Yeah, it's we're trying to figure that out. In our we operated our business, and this is somewhat of new territory, right? Like, we got started during COVID. A lot of increased awareness around mental health. The Tokyo Olympics was going on. I mean, even before COVID, we're in a 50, 60-year upswing of depression, anxiety, suicide, right? And so COVID's just exacerbated that. And during COVID, all these organizations started ramping up their resilience programs, and we're like, well, youth soccer clubs should do the same. And so we were just trying to help them do that. The nuts and bolts of that has become a lot more difficult than we thought. But so just for example, the first 2 years we really operated with a club, and our two core products are, we do we call them mental fitness, but we do training sessions, right? So that's Zoom, it's interactive, just kind of teaching and going through with the parents, players, and the coaches. And then we had an online academy. So content, a whole bunch of content. And really what we're trying to do at Soccer Resilience is to marry the unsexy science. I think science is sexy, by the way. Unsexy science with the pro athlete, sexy pro athlete, right? So we have a ambassador team of 15, all started with Walker Zimmerman. And what we're really trying to do is, and what our ambassadors are trying to do is leverage their platform to give back and to teach these things. So, right, we don't just take any pro, it's ambassadors that are pros that understand this aspect. The reality is pros aren't robots and we all struggle, and we're all dealing with life. And if we're happier and we know how to deal with life better, we're going to be better and we're going to go farther and we're going to do all that. So we think that, Dr. Brad, my business partner, who's a clinical psychologist, says all day, every day, kids won't listen to pro athletes, not psychologists. And so oftentimes we do is set up training sessions with our pro ambassadors with these clubs and organizations. We've shifted our business model a little bit now to create courses because massive library overwhelms people. So we're really trying to engage and help people and take them on a journey through our courses. Hopefully that made sense.
Understood. In regards to generating, leads and gaining more exposure, what platforms are you on, and where can people find you?
Yeah, they can, soccerresilience.com. We're big on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We haven't gotten into TikTok or any of that stuff yet. Everybody keeps telling us that we should. But soccerresilience.com is the best place to find us. I'm very involved on LinkedIn. I have my cell phone and email on there, and you can reach out to me if you'd like to on there. I'll get back to you.
Understood. I have a personal question, business related. Is do you guys have like a content team for Soccer Resilience?
No, no, we do not. Okay. So we have. I'm really. My wife is the boss in every sense of the word. And she and her twin sister have a marketing agency, and they just market for nonprofits. And they just celebrated 13 years. And so Soccer Resilience has been in business for 3 years. So the 10 years before I started Soccer Resilience, when I'd hear them talk about the business, I'd be like, why are you whining? Just do this, right? Like, I'm a guy that thinks everything's easier than it is. Well, I'll tell you what, a small business is freaking hard. You look at the stats of small businesses making it. And so, my lesson past 3 years is don't start a business when you have 3 young kids. But I want to do everything the hard way, Kareem. And so I started a business with 3 young kids, and I'm trying to figure it out. I can't remember the original question, but what was the original question?
Oh, I was just asking a question that came to mind is if you had a marketing team.
Yeah. So, man, the learning curve for me has been just tremendous. I've learned so much in 3 years. I tell people this all the time, hope it doesn't offend anybody, but I spend all day, every day trying to get my head out of my ass. And most days I don't even do it. It is just, we haven't raised any money. We bootstrapped everything. And it's the typical conundrum of a small business. You need money, you need people. How do you get them? You know what I mean? You need money to pay the people. You need the people to do the work. And so it's, we have a lot of amazing people that are helping us do what we do. And we're trying to figure it out day by day. The interesting thing enough is like all the stuff that we talk about, we're trying to preach ourselves, focusing on the process. And that's really hard, man, because I wake up most days and I go, we're going to fail. We're going to fail. Oh my God. How do we do this? How do we do that? We got to make money. And it's like, you just got to trust. You got to put in the work and trust in the process. And that's really tough for an entrepreneur is you're doing stuff day in, day out, and you don't know if you're going to make a difference or not, but you just have to trust that what you're doing is going to pay off and it's going to keep your doors open. So it has for us, and we hope to continue to keep our doors open. But no, we do not have a content team. I do the majority. We made our first hire this past 6 months ago, I think was our first hire. And that was a huge step for us, huge investment. We hope to make some more hires soon.
Yeah, for sure. I was just interested to know because I know content's a lot of work. So yeah, just wondering. Your soccer journey.
I feel like you must have a content team because that would be like awesome.
Sorry, what was the question?
Are you like you guys? Your content is amazing. You must have a content team. Is that what you're gonna say?
Oh, I was just wondering because I was going to ask you for advice in regards to content, but no, I haven't seen. I got to look at everything that you guys are doing, but I've checked out the website a little bit, just zoomed through it, and then creating questions was more so like LinkedIn, a little bit of the website, and just Wikipedia. But yeah, I know delegating is important and it frees up more time. So that's what I was interested in. I was going to ask you for advice. Um, yeah, switching gears here a little bit. Um, your soccer journey includes being the number 5 overall draft pick in the 2007 MLS Super Draft. Looking back, what advice would you give to young players entering into the professional soccer scene or that want to go pro?
Yeah. What advice would I give him? I mean, man, I never thought. Again, it's kind of a surprise that I was drafted 5th overall. I got a call from Javidovich like a week before the draft, and he said, "You need to go to Indianapolis." And I'm like, "For what?" And he's like, "For the draft, you dingus." And so I flew up there with my family. And, if you're going to get drafted the first round or the first 10 picks, like the league kind of knows, they fly you up, take care of you. Well, we didn't do that. We paid our own way up. I'll never forget draft day. We go in and we sit, and my dad gets a seat on the front row. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be the kid that just sits here." I knew New England had the 11th pick and they trade up to get the 5th. And I was like, "Dad, there's no way they're picking me now." They ended up picking me, and I tried not to trip walking up the stage, and it was amazing. I think that, again, you just have to focus on. There's 2 things I go back to in all of life, and that it certainly pertains to this. Is you focus on the process and the present moment, right? And why is the present moment so important? Because in order to get the most out of the present moment, you need to be in the present moment. But our brains are working against us because they're always thinking about the future. They're always thinking about the past, right? And so it takes a lot of work and practice to be in the present moment. And then the process, right? We are so outcome oriented, and we want to go and project and calculate. Oh, I'm not going to make it, right? Like, I wake up one day and I'm like, my business isn't going to survive. And it's like, there's no way, Wells, that you have any clue whether that's going to happen or not. You're not God. You can't like foresee the future, but that's what we do. And that's what we as humans do. So that's what I would give. That's what I would tell them, is to focus on the process. And that's controlling what you can control, right? Like, put yourself out there, talk to agents. And I don't know particularly who you're talking about, but like, if you're not going to get drafted and you still want to go pro, it's like, go for it, man. Freaking go for it. Right. Like, go for it. Right. Just reach out to people. You can get in touch with anybody today. Go on LinkedIn, go on Instagram, and just be shameless and say, "I want to try out." And Brad Knight, and a good buddy of mine, he was discovered. He just retired, and he played in the MLS for 16 years. And he was a rookie when I was a rookie in 2007, and he was the 4th-string goalie. And he was discovered through an open tryout. Matt Turner was discovered by the New England Revolution through an open tryout. You never know. You know what I mean? So, like, don't be prideful to put yourself out there and try to figure it out. And just be resourceful. You know what I mean? Be resourceful. And the last thing I would say is just believe in yourself, right? Just believe in yourself, because people aren't just going to give it to you. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to have that belief in yourself. And I think that's the greatest battle we'll ever fight, is the one in our head, between our ears, and the inner critic and the doubt and the, like, we can do so much more than we think we can. And a lot of that starts with just believing and winning the war inside so that we can win the war outside. That was a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Well, no, that was great. That was great. Very inspirational to myself as well. And you're a great example of that. I want to end off with this last question to respect your time. I know we're at the end here. Soccer resilience is more than just a team. It's a community dedicated to helping individuals reach their full potential. How do you foster a sense of community within soccer resilience? And what role does this community play in the development of its members?
Yeah, it's a great question. When we founded Soccer Resilience, I just always thought it was bigger than us, right? Like than the founders, and our team has changed over the years, as life has dealt with us. But I think the key to resilience is relationships. So we've really been trying, and we're 98% of the work we do is digital, is remote. So our ambassadors are part of that, right? Like, we try to keep them involved as much as possible. Like, we really want to give them opportunities to use their platform and team with them, and we're really trying to find that. We just put on a Renew Your Resilience Summit So it was just a free 4-day event where we brought in 21 speakers, like really like high profile people, like John Hackworth for St. Louis City SC, Josh Lambo, who was an MLS and NFL kicker, just providing that for people. I think that it's a very good question. I think that's something that we would love to do a better job of. Community is so important. We need each other. It goes back to a little bit the question you asked me earlier is like, there's no such thing as a self-made man. And oftentimes when I tell my story, it's like, oh, you did all that, Wells? And it's like, honestly, Kareem, when I look back on my life, I'm like, how, God? How? Like, I've screwed up so many times, man. Like, it wasn't me, it was community, it was people. And, I think that's just an appropriate message for all of us is about relationships and community and plugging into people. And there's just science and studies continue to prove that like the better relationships we have, the more community we have, the better we feel, the better our health is all around. So how do we foster that, man? We're still trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? But an example is holding events, opening up opportunities for ambassadors. Yeah.
This is a great story, Wells. I think the only way to end this off is with your favorite quote from the Bible.
Oh, it's my favorite quote in the Bible. It's Zephaniah 3:17. You know what it is?
I've never read the Bible.
You've never read the Bible? Did you know that there was a book called Zephaniah 3:17? And I bet if you interviewed 1 million Christians, no one would say Zephaniah 3:17 was their favorite verse, okay? But can I share it with you real quick?
Absolutely.
Because I don't have it memorized. Shame on me. No, I'm kidding. And so it says, okay, Zephaniah 3:17 says, "For the Lord your God is living among you. He is a mighty Savior. He will take delight in you with gladness. With his love, he will calm all your fears." Ooh, that's a big one. And I love this part. He will rejoice, or he will sing over you. So I just picture, I love that, first of all, because it's unique, but I love it too because I think that God sings over us. Like he's a personal God and he's with us. And when I think about God telling me one thing, and it's the thing that always resonates in my head, it's, "You're my boy." When I think of God saying something to me, it's, "You're my boy. You're my boy, Wells." And so I'm trying to let that voice dictate my life and my perspective and my mind way more than I am that you're a piece of crap and all the other voices that tend to put myself down. Thanks for asking, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm open to always learning and different religions, and so always interested, different perspectives. And Wells, I just want to say I really appreciate you taking the time to be on. I'm really inspired by you, your story, what you're doing, and I appreciate everything that you're doing again for the beautiful game. Again, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us on the One Soccer Nation podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, man. And this is just a testament to, it reminds me of our first phone call, is that it just takes a second to change someone's life. And you did that for mine. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for having me. 100. Woo! 100.
100 podcasts. Let's go. Awesome.